Thank you. And you know, I agree with you. I think I do have a dream job. And no, I don't speak Greek now magically. The gentleman backstage was kind enough to tell me what you were saying. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate this opportunity to be here in Greece for Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is a very significant event, not only for the Kauffman Foundation, but for the world of entrepreneurship at large. For you see, this week alone, there will be over 7.5 million people participating in over 20,000 events in 140 countries. And Greece is a big and significant participant this year. And for that reason, I want to congratulate the board of GEW Greece, but more importantly, I want to congratulate the staff of IDGC for the logistics behind this. This is truly a masterful event. Michaelis and Carla and Ellie and all the staff and volunteers, you really should be commended for pulling off a tremendous event, and I congratulate you. One of the things that I see disruptors and game changers, and as you see from these industry panels that have been coming up, is really the ideas, bright ideas that are coming out that are changing the world. And it's really the fact that we are united by the power of these ideas and what these ideas can do to transform economies. And that's another reason why we loved, you know, this conference in the context of only about 5 out of the 20,000 events that happened this year. It's one of 5 that we really featured as a premier event because of what it was focusing on. So I want to share just a moment with you where I was earlier in the week to give you some comparison of the company, the community that you are part of. I started the week in Denmark. I was there for the Creative Business Cup. And I know you're having one here as part of this conference, so hopefully you understand the format of that. And this truly was an incredible event that was only in its 2nd year. It featured finalists from 38 countries around the world who got up there and, you know, had to have some sort of creative aspect to their company to qualify for being there for the Creative Cup. And you would have been forgiven if, when you saw the winner, this 23-year-old woman from Croatia, when she stood on stage with a teddy bear under her arm. And I could see some people even start to fade away like, oh, okay, what's a teddy bear? Did you make a new one? Does it walk and talk? The fact of the matter is that little teddy bear was stuffed with very sophisticated biometric and communications equipment. And within seconds of a child interacting with it, that teddy bear would send things like blood oxygen levels, temperature, and pulse rate to a parent's smartphone or to a doctor's tablet. Talk about an innovation on a centuries-old toy. That's one smart teddy bear. And that was one of the reasons why the creativity behind it, that it won the Global Creative Business Cup competition. From Copenhagen, which was, by the way, just a little bit colder than it is here, although it wasn't raining, but it was about 0 and -1 when I left. I came down a little bit to Rotterdam for the finals of Get in the Ring. And again, Get in the Ring was, you know, an event that you're holding here as well. The winner there, I'm somewhat proud, if I'm being honest, to say came from the United States. The company is called iVerify. It's actually from our hometown of Kansas City, Missouri. And really what they want to do is, you know, make passwords obsolete. Because we all love passwords, right? We love writing them down. That's real secure. Well, iVerify, you know, came up with a technology that uses the camera on your smartphone, and it scans your eye. And with the simple scan of your eye, it gives you access to whatever you need. Again, a very innovative idea that showcases just what can be done in bringing team, idea, capital together. Which brings me to here, which I have to say again, after a long week, it's a wonderful place to end, because you're really doing something here to celebrate entrepreneurship. I don't have to tell you Greece is going through hard times right now. You know that better than I do. But what I want to say to you is events like this that bring people like you together around the common interest of, strengthening the country, trying to lead the recovery. You are the ones that are going to lead this notion that really your entrepreneurs in your country are the greatest natural resource that you have. It's better than solar, it's better than wind, it's better than hydropower, because entrepreneurs will create things from nothing that will generate jobs, tax bases, and the things that society, civil society, needs to function. So I congratulate you for that. But beyond that, and beyond just looking at the boundaries of Greece, you're now part of a global community. And you, as I want to say again, you really entered this global community on a very big scale with this event, providing incredibly valuable resources to the entrepreneurs with the practical education that's going on upstairs in the other rooms and the days that this is happening. This is what's happening now on a global scale. And you now have access, by participation in these other events we talked about, by the connections that get made here, you have access now to people and differing views and opinions that go beyond the boundaries and the problems here. And you're never going to get small in your thinking again, because once the brain is stretched to the possibilities, it never gets back small again. And being part of this global community is one way that you stretch that. And we have the ability, for what we do and we see from everything we do around the globe, we now recognize that community and the community you're part of, community is a new form of currency. And here's what I mean by that. You have access to people. I know the judges that have been coming through here are experts from around the world. You wouldn't be able to buy that access. You wouldn't be able to just pick up a phone normally and go see a person like that and ask them questions. But because you're doing things in this communal way, you're having access to things that have great value, but you don't have to pay for it. And that's what I mean by community being a form of currency. And the real value comes from the people in the community that have this certain entrepreneurial mindset. We like to talk about that as a way of thinking. I mean, how many of you sit and wonder, you see the story of some entrepreneur, and I'm not talking about the poster children of the United States, Zuckerberg and Gates and those people, just, successful entrepreneurs in your own country. And I wonder if you ever thought, how they get to be so special? How did they make that happen? What do they do differently that I don't understand or I'm missing? And I'm here to tell you they are different than you. And they're different because they have different beliefs about the world. They have different assumptions about the world. I heard earlier it was said that glass half full, half empty. That's part of it. The other part of that is they have a sense that they will control their world and not have it the other way around. I think that's very important right now, because you probably feel like the world is pressing back on Greece right now. But entrepreneurs that are successful, that have this entrepreneurial mindset, they look at the world and say, I will not be a passive bystander in my life. I will have a say in how my life is led. And it took us years to come to the understanding that that is significantly important. For years, the Kauffman Foundation, we produce lots of entrepreneurship education. It's one of the things we're known for. We also research the impact of entrepreneurs on the economy so that we can have data in the hands of politicians and bureaucrats and the people that make policies that can either help or hurt entrepreneurship. Last night we had dinner with the board of GEW Greece, and I see Andreas over there, and thank you again. It was a beautiful dinner. But I learned about some of the tax environments here, and this notion that entrepreneurs can go to jail for not paying their taxes. Now, I don't mean to offend any politicians in the room, but I would love to ask this question. If it's criminal to be late on paying my taxes, and if I have to be working in my business to generate the revenue to pay my taxes, how in the hell does it make any sense to put me in jail? Anybody care to answer that one? You can see me later. But that's the environment, and people yet, despite that, are figuring that out because, again, they have this mindset. So as we look at the things that we can put out in the market, and we're always very careful not to say, well, here's how it works in the States. This is what happens in the U.S. Because not everything that comes from the U.S. is golden, and not everything's worthy of exporting. We try to be relevant in context. And so when we looked at our entrepreneurship education curriculum, we have practical things that have been implemented here like Fast Track. But there's only so much you can do with that if you're not getting people into the funnel in the first place. So 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago now, we partnered with a company called the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative. The founder of that company, Gary Schoniger, is here today. He spoke yesterday. And Gary came to me 3-ish years ago and said, I think we're onto something here about what this entrepreneurial mindset is. I've been an entrepreneur multiple times, basically because I can't hold a job down. I'm a very bad employee. I'm much better as the boss or the owner. I also get bored very easily. So I'm the guy you want when you have no idea how you're going to go to market, you have no idea how you're going to pay your employees, your hair's on fire. I love to tell this one story in one of my last companies. I asked my receptionist, because I always think the receptionist is the first face of the company. So I always said to her, you have to stand your post. Don't ever leave. But I was interviewing employees that day, designers coming into our agency. And one of my interviewees, the candidates was in, this lovely young lady. And my receptionist calls me and she says, we have an emergency. And I said, all right, what's the emergency? She said the toilet is overflowing in the ladies' room on the 3rd floor, and the water is coming through the ceiling, and it's dripping on the programmers on the 2nd floor. And there's a chain of command we had, so she's like, what do you want me to do? And she presumably was going to go up there and take care of that. I said, nope, we have people coming in today. You're the first face of the company. I'll take care of it as the president of the company. So I run up there, and I get the mop, the bucket. I go in there, and ladies, I had more issues with women's restrooms than men's, let me just say that. And as I was finishing up and I had my bucket and I'm coming out, the candidate that was in for the interview asked to use the restroom. So she was showing up there and she saw me and I was like, oh, I'm done, you can go, let me get out of your way. And then I went back to my office, and then we were doing the interviews in a conference room, and I went in and I waited, and she finally came in 5 minutes later, and she walks in, opens the door. Oh, I'm in the wrong room. I said, well, why do you think that? Well, I'm here to interview with the president of the company. I was like, oh, really? Well, he's really important, I've heard. Is his name Thom Ruhe? Yes, it is. And I said, okay, well, let me go get him for you. Okay, hi, I'm Thom Ruhe. When you're an entrepreneur, your mindset says there's nothing beyond or beneath you to do. The reason I share that story is because that's how it gets done. You don't stand on formality. I also had the privilege to serve in the United States Air Force. That was about 100 pounds ago, and 25 years ago, when I could still fit in a cockpit of an airplane. And I remember a commanding officer of mine once said, if you don't worry about who gets the credit for something, you'll be able to accomplish anything. And that helped me a lot in my career. That was a piece that stuck in my mindset, in my brain. So it is that Gary comes to me, let me get back to Ice House. Gary says to me, I have this idea for this course. We talked it through, and I believe at the time it was the thing I was searching for probably 10 years. Said another way, it was everything I wish I had known on my first and second, maybe even my third company. Because it's really, it's funny to think how ignorant I was in my first company and my second company. You get better with practice, I promise you. So we took this mindset and we distilled it, and we did it a little differently than we normally do. Kauffman, you know, people think we have a lot of money. Our typical way of doing something is we build it and we put it out free to the world, and we still do that. We just launched a new program called the Founders School. It's a free curriculum online for existing companies. But this one was a partnership. You know, we acted like entrepreneurs ourselves, and we said, hey, the market's got to tell us whether or not this is good. We're not going to assume complete knowledge. We're not going to say just because Kauffman's name on it, it has to be good. We're going to put it out there like any other entrepreneur, and the market will tell us whether or not it's a good product. So it came out live 2 years ago, and today it's being translated, it's being deployed. Thousands of students have taken it, are taking it on 4 continents. That's the power of an entrepreneurial mindset. And just so you know, it's not exclusively predicated upon starting or building a company. Just last month, I had the chance, I was invited to go to Rome, and I was invited by the Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace at the Vatican. And we were there talking about entrepreneurship, especially how it might apply to marginalized populations. You know, I know here in Greece, we feel persecuted, we feel down, but I've been to other places in the world, I assure you, that would look at what's happening in Greece and call it heaven. And those are the parts of the world the Vatican was concerned with. And we were saying and debating, you know, what's the value of an entrepreneurial mindset to help these marginalized populations? And on the conclusion, I spoke of the way we see it, and you know, how it's the beginning of a journey, and it can serve anybody, even if you're just, you know, want to be an employee. And on the conclusion of that meeting, the council said very quietly, we think an entrepreneurial mindset is now a basic human right. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the Vatican. I'm not Catholic. I should mention that I'm actually Lutheran, so I was surprised they let me in the place. But not to take anything away, and I'm thrilled that they came to that conclusion. But I have the good fortune, as Michaelis said, to work at the Kauffman Foundation, so I already knew the benefit of a mindset, because I work for a great entrepreneur who already 50 years ago understood that entrepreneurs give back to society much more than they take from it. Our founder, Mr. Kauffman, was born poor, extremely poor. He did not have the privilege to go to university. They couldn't afford it. What he did have was an entrepreneurial mindset. He had a work ethic. He knew if he showed up an hour before everybody else, if he put in a work day that was longer than everybody else, he knew he'd get ahead. And from that spirit, that mindset, he built a company, Marion Laboratories, that made him a very wealthy man. And you can say, good for him. But beyond the wealth it created for him, it created wealth for Kansas City, his community, and the world by virtue of the fact that we're here today. For you see, what he did with his money was enjoy a wonderful lifestyle that he earned, but he also gave back to the community in certain very important ways that are changing futures. He knew that education was important. So to the most impoverished part of the community, he said to the young people going to high school there, if you finish school, don't get pregnant, don't get arrested, study. When you graduate high school, I will get you through college. And today, there's over 2,000 young adults that have their college degree compliments of Mr. Kauffman and the foundation. But beyond that accomplishment, beyond him creating his own wealth, there's another important thing that his life story informs us. when he sold the company that he created, over 300 of the earliest employees became millionaires. For you see, Mr. Kauffman understood in his heart that you share the wealth with those who help you create it. So over 300 of his earliest, most loyal employees became millionaires. That's nice. That means I only have, what, an hour more to go? So you know what they did with that money? Over 50 of the 300 new millionaires took that money and they started new companies. This is the virtuous cycle. This is how this feeds itself. This is, to a large degree, why America has the advantage, entrepreneurially speaking, that it does. It's hard to get it started, but once you do, it starts feeding itself. Because entrepreneurs are very generous people, not only with their resources, their money, but with their time, their talent, and their intellect. And they will give back much more than they ever take from society. And I'm here to tell you as proof that can happen here. Greek people are just as smart, just as capable, just as creative as anybody else in the world. Yes, you're facing difficult times at the moment, but you will figure this out. And when you do, you'll take your place in the world economic powers, and you will hopefully start building better futures for the generations to come. I congratulate you for that, and I thank you for the opportunity to address you today.